I never thought of myself as a cluttered person. After all, my home was clean, the furniture was dusted, and everything had a place, or so I thought. But something shifted for me after a simple stumble on the edge of a coffee table nearly sent me to the ground. That near fall, as small as it seemed, led to a deeper realization. Clutter isn't just a matter of messiness, it's a quiet thief. It steals space, comfort, safety, and peace of mind. Today, I want to walk you through this journey of reclaiming your space and, in many ways, your strength. These aren't just spring cleaning suggestions. Each of these items has a deeper impact than we often realize, especially after 60. Let's begin with the first 3. 1. The coffee table, the low-lying hazard you forgot was dangerous. Let's start with the obvious, or maybe not so obvious. The classic coffee table. For years, mine sat proudly in the center of the living room, holding magazines, remote controls, the occasional teacup, and, too often, odds and ends that didn't belong anywhere else. It seemed harmless. But as I got older, my gait changed subtly. My reflexes slowed. One wrong turn, and suddenly I caught my shin on the edge while carrying laundry. That's when I learned that coffee tables are one of the most common causes of trip-related falls in older adults. Studies from fall prevention clinics show that low furniture within high-traffic zones poses a serious hazard for seniors with even mild mobility changes. So what's the fix? I replaced mine with a soft ottoman, low, cushioned, and most importantly, dual-purpose with storage inside. It offers the same central function but with less risk and more comfort. And unlike a hard surface table, if you bump into it with a tired leg or shin, you won't end up bruised. This small shift not only made my home feel safer, it instantly looked more open, less cluttered, and oddly, more modern. Why it helps? Reduces fall risk by removing a common obstacle. Softens the space visually and physically. Offers storage that reduces surface clutter. Encourages safer movement patterns. 2. Duplicate kitchen utensils, when just in case becomes just in the way. Now, I've always prided myself on being a good cook. But somewhere between my first set of utensils and the third cheese grater I forgot I owned, my drawers became a battlefield of tangled tools. It hit me when I spent 10 minutes looking for my favorite spatula, only to find it buried beneath 2 broken ones and a soup ladle I hadn't used in a decade. This clutter didn't just steal time, it stole ease and joy from my cooking. As we age, bending to rummage through low drawers or wrestling with stuck utensils becomes more physically taxing. Grip strength diminishes, knees don't bend like they used to, and balance becomes more delicate. The more clutter in your kitchen, the more energy and physical strain it demands from your body. Here's what I did. I laid every kitchen tool out on the table. One by one, I asked myself, do I use this weekly? Does it serve a purpose no other tool does? If not, it went into the donation box. I kept 2 of the essentials, in case one is in the dishwasher, but I let go of the rest. Today, my kitchen feels like it breathes. Cooking is easier, faster, and frankly, more pleasurable. Why this helps? Less physical effort finding and grabbing what you need. Reduces hand strain and joint stress. Prevents reaching accidents and drawer jams. Creates visual calm and eases mental fatigue. 3. Bulky furniture you don't use, the false comfort of holding on. I used to have a giant wooden armchair in the corner of my living room. It was beautiful, an antique I'd inherited from my mother, but I hadn't sat in it in years. It was too low for my knees and too heavy to move when I needed to clean. But it stayed, out of sentiment and fear. What if I regret giving it up? The truth? I haven't missed it once. Instead, I replaced it with a lightweight accent chair that's easier on my joints, and easier to slide if I need to vacuum or adjust the layout. We don't talk enough about how bulky furniture quietly shrinks our homes, making pathways narrower, corners harder to reach, and simple movement more hazardous. For seniors with mobility concerns, or even just slightly slower reflexes, navigating around large furniture can increase the risk of hip or shoulder collisions, and even serious falls. I've had patients, especially those with walkers or canes, who told me their homes started to feel like obstacle courses. When we decluttered their rooms by removing unused dressers or replacing a large coffee table with a smaller ottoman, not only did their spaces become safer, they felt bigger, lighter, freer. Why this helps? Reduces risk of shoulder bumps, stubbed toes, and bruised hips. Easier to clean under and around furniture. Opens up space for safer navigation, especially with walkers or canes. Improves mood by reducing visual weight and density of the room. These 3 changes may seem small on paper, but let me assure you, when you implement them, your home starts to breathe again. You start to breathe again. Clutter doesn't just collect in drawers and corners, it collects in our minds, in our joints, and in the space we should be using to move freely and live fully. In part 2, we'll explore some more sneaky clutter culprits, things that feel harmless but take up energy, focus, and emotional space every day. The first time I truly noticed the emotional weight of clutter, it wasn't after a fall or a stubbed toe. It was one quiet morning when I sat down with my cup of tea, ready to enjoy the sunrise through my kitchen window, and realized I couldn't see it. Not clearly, at least. My view was blocked by an old plant stand, some stacked mail, and a dusty decorative bowl that hadn't held anything useful in years. The truth is, clutter doesn't always announce itself loudly. Often, it lurks in corners, drawers, and behind cupboard doors. And for those of us over 60, that kind of hidden clutter can have just as much impact on our peace of mind, and our health, as tripping over a shoe. Let me show you 5 more things that, if removed or simplified, could bring an incredible lightness to your home and your daily life. For old magazines and newspapers, when memories become mess. For years, I kept a stack of magazines by my reading chair. For inspiration, I told myself. Recipes, tips, that one health article I meant to finish. But the stack grew. Soon it turned into a pile. And over time, it became a dust collector that whispered, "You're behind. You haven't done enough." Sound familiar? What we don't often realize is that piles like these contribute to low-grade mental clutter. They visually overwhelm the space, make cleaning harder, and, especially for seniors, can pose tripping risks or worsen allergies due to trapped dust. But more than that, they carry emotional weight. Unread articles feel like unfinished tasks. Magazines from years ago become silent reminders of time slipping by. What to do instead? Choose a limit, say, 5. Keep only the most meaningful or most recent issues. Clip out a favorite recipe or quote and let the rest go. Take a photo of what inspires you and store it digitally. Your home is a living space, not an archive. Why this helps? Reduces dust and allergy triggers. Makes cleaning easier and faster. Clears visual and mental overwhelm. Helps you feel more caught up and less behind. 5. Mystery cords and electronics you haven't used in years. One rainy Sunday, I opened a drawer labeled chargers. Inside were cables that looked like they belonged to devices from a decade ago. I had no idea what half of them were for. There were tangled headphones, mismatched plugs, maybe even an old iPod charger. I hadn't used any of it in years. This drawer became a metaphor for what I no longer needed to carry. Electronics clutter is tricky, it's hidden. But when it builds up, it becomes both a safety issue, think, trip hazards, fire risks, and a mental burden. Every time you open that drawer and see the tangled mess, your brain registers one more thing to deal with. What to do instead? Set aside 1 hour to go through every wire and plug. If you don't know what it's for, and haven't used it in the last year, recycle it. Libraries, electronics stores, and even some senior centers have e-waste programs. Label the cords you do keep with tape and a marker. Why this helps? Eliminates safety hazards like tripping or overheating. Frees up drawer and closet space. Reduces visual stress and decision fatigue. Makes it easier to find the things you do use. 6. Sentimental trinkets that no longer bring joy. Now, this one's tender. I had a small shelf once, filled with souvenirs. A miniature Eiffel Tower. A seashell from a long-past vacation. A figurine my niece gave me 20 years ago. Each one had a story, but eventually, the shelf became a crowd. I could barely dust them all, let alone see each piece clearly. We seniors are especially prone to holding on to things for memory's sake. But there's a quiet truth: when everything is meaningful, nothing gets to shine. If you're surrounded by dozens of sentimental items, they can begin to feel like clutter instead of comfort. What to do instead? Choose your favorites, maybe 5 to 10 items that truly move your heart. Display them with space and intention, like a gallery. Let them breathe. Then consider giving the rest to family or donating them to someone who might need their own memories. Why this helps? Shifts your focus to what really matters. Reduces dust and visual overload. Makes your space more peaceful and reflective. Preserves your energy and emotional bandwidth. 7. Hobby supplies you've quietly outgrown. I once dreamed of being a watercolor painter. I had brushes, palettes, pads of paper, and unopened tubes of paint. But over time, the joy faded. The materials sat in the closet, whispering guilt every time I opened the door. Many of us collect hobbies like bookmarks in a life well lived. But when a hobby fades, and the materials stay, it becomes emotional clutter. It can quietly create shame, especially when energy levels change and our days no longer look the way they used to. What to do instead? Pick 1 or 2 hobbies that still light you up. Keep only the tools you regularly use. Donate the rest to community centers, schools, or even senior programs. Imagine someone else discovering joy from what you no longer need. Why this helps? Create space for the activities you do love. Lightens emotional guilt over unfinished projects. Frees storage for more relevant needs, like mobility tools or kitchen staples. Empowers you to let go of identities that no longer serve you. 8. Specialty kitchen gadgets, the single-use space wasters. Oh, the pasta maker. I used it twice. The popcorn machine. Fun once. The smoothie maker. Too bulky to wash. If your countertops and cabinets are filled with gadgets that only serve one purpose, and haven't been used in 6 months, it's time to reevaluate. After 60, kitchen space becomes not just about cooking but about safety and ease of movement. Bending over to get something behind the waffle iron, reaching over a pile of gadgets to clean, or lifting a heavy appliance off a high shelf, these are all potential injury zones. What to do instead? Stick to your essentials: a reliable blender, slow cooker, toaster. The things you use weekly. Let the others go or pass them to someone younger who might enjoy experimenting. Why this helps? Reduces risk of injury while reaching or bending. Makes cooking faster and simpler. Keeps counters clean and stress-free. Prevents accumulation of aspirational clutter. Clutter is rarely just stuff. It's the past taking up space in your present. It's old decisions asking to be made again every time you open a drawer. But with every item you let go of, you make room, not just in your home, but in your life. By now, you've probably noticed it, something subtle, almost spiritual. As you let go of certain things, you begin to feel lighter not only in your home, but in your chest. A kind of peace settles in. You start walking through rooms instead of navigating around them. You sit down without shuffling papers or adjusting piles. This is what I call quiet spaciousness, and once you've tasted it, you'll never want to go back. Let me share the final 2 clutter culprits, and the single most powerful practice that keeps clutter from sneaking back in. 9. Holiday plates and decorations, the once-a-year storage sinkhole. For years, I had 3 bins marked Christmas, 1 labeled Thanksgiving, and an extra shelf dedicated solely to Easter tableware. Every season brought out a rotation of plates, tablecloths, and decorations that I thought were essential. But then one year, I realized, I hadn't used the Thanksgiving dishes in 4 years, and the Christmas plates? Too heavy for me now, and they didn't even fit in the dishwasher. Seasonal items are sneaky. They only appear once a year, but they take up room all year long. They live in attics, closets, basements, and they often require climbing, lifting, and crawling to retrieve. For many older adults, that means added fall risks, joint strain, and even respiratory issues from dusty storage spaces. What I did. I picked 2 holidays that still brought me joy. I chose a handful of meaningful decorations, and donated or gifted the rest. I replaced themed plates with neutral, timeless dishware that could be dressed up with a napkin or centerpiece for any occasion. Why this helps? Reduces risk from lifting heavy storage bins. Frees up valuable closet or attic space. Simplifies holiday prep and cleanup. Keeps only what is joyful and meaningful. And here's something I didn't expect: by keeping only the decorations I truly loved, I appreciated them more. They felt special again. 10. Overflow office supplies, the quiet paperweight on your mind. This last one might seem too small to matter, but stay with me. One day I opened my desk drawer and counted 19 pens, 7 dried out highlighters, 3 staplers, and a forest's worth of notepads. I don't run a law firm. I write grocery lists and birthday cards. It was overkill, and it was cluttering my ability to focus. Why do we hold on to these things? I believe it's because supplies feel safe. Like preparation. But too much, just in case, becomes just in the way. How it impacts us. Harder to find what you actually use. Encourages procrastination, yes, even sorting through pens becomes a task. Takes up space that could be used for more relevant needs, like medication storage, journals, or tech chargers. What I did. I tested each pen and threw out the ones that didn't work. I kept a beautiful notepad, 2 good pens, and a small file folder for essentials. Everything else? Donated to a local school. Why this helps. Frees mental space for more meaningful writing and reflection. Declutters work areas, encouraging creativity and focus. Makes paperwork and letter writing feel intentional, not chaotic. Bonus, the one practice that keeps clutter from coming back. Let me tell you about a habit that changed my relationship with stuff forever. I call it the Sunday scan. Every Sunday afternoon, I walk through my home slowly, not to clean, but to observe. I ask myself, have I used this in the last season? Does it still serve a purpose or bring me joy? Is it helping me live the life I want now, not the one I had years ago? It only takes 15 to 20 minutes. I might toss a few expired pantry items, put a coat in the donation bag, or clear off the nightstand. But week by week, this simple ritual has kept clutter from creeping back. Clutter returns when we stop paying attention. But when you make it a habit to gently scan your space, you stay in relationship with your home. And that relationship becomes one of peace, not pressure. In closing, more than a clean home, a calmer life. Dear friend, this journey wasn't really about coffee tables or hobby supplies. It was about reclaiming control, joy, and safety in your space. A cluttered home creates hidden obstacles, not just for your body, but for your mind. It steals your energy. It crowds your thoughts. But when you let it go, you create room to breathe, to move, to live. The lighter your space becomes, the more space you'll feel inside yourself. So take it one drawer at a time. One corner. One bin. And let every item you release be an act of kindness toward the life you're living now, not the one that's past. And remember, you don't need more. You need less, with more meaning. Would you like me to turn this into a printable guide or audiobook format for easier use or sharing?